So so this is Just Inspire 85. I kind of started this little project probably I want to say about 3 or 4 years ago when I was working with the Harlem Children's Zone. I just felt like I wanted a way to kind of put more positive messages out there in a way that I felt in an avenue that that people will be more open to seeing it. So I started with just posting like maybe photos, video clips, to just just kind of inspire minds, and I felt like over time I needed to with my education increasing, and the different things I was getting into with kind of teaching and now counseling, I just felt like I needed to do more with this. So 2 weeks ago, I had a round table talk with three gentlemen. Two I know personally, and one I met on Facebook as well. And we had a conversation about how to be better men. And I just wanted to continue just to have more conversations that just provoke dialogue. That's kind of what Just Inspire is all about. Just Inspire 85 is just to have dialogue that's to talk about things that are worth talking about, to promote conversation and just thought. And I saw that, and that's how I kind of came across you. You posted something a while ago about cancer research and stress, and that's a big thing to me. Is cancer runs in my family, and I've seen a lot of studies and things about it, but I still felt like people didn't take it that serious. And you were talking about a court case, so I was like, oh shit, that's dope. And I
Yeah,
believe you're friends with Tal, right?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I found an odd community of some interesting intellectuals online, my friend. So
yeah. Yeah,
I
I mean,
dabble in a lot of realms of education. So it's fun to diversify, who you're around and also what you learn. Um,
absolutely.
so do you want to jump into that? Because I do want to kind of correct one thing you said. You said cancer runs in my family, and I
Oh,
think
well,
you're
my family.
well, hear me out. Hear me out, okay?
Okay, got you. My bad. Sorry.
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. I know.
Yeah,
We naturally get defensive if we kind of misspeak or something. So I totally get it.
got
Um,
you. Got you.
stress runs in culture. Okay,
Okay.
the
Right.
entire community of color has been repressed and under a state of stress. Now, when you're stressed, you metabolically your heart rate changes. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
heart disease in the African American community, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you know what else happens? You stop breathing as deep naturally.
Hmm.
So what happens is you get a growth of acid, carbon dioxide, in your body, which either A, you burn out physically, which is why you have such a strong athletic community,
Okay.
processed in the liver, or B, you sedate. Okay? So
Okay.
let's go down
When you,
this rabbit hole.
I was gonna say, yeah. When you say sedated, what does that mean?
Let's go. All
Let's
right.
go.
So there's different types of medicine. Okay, there's two forms of what we consider medicine. There's what we chemically process, which, I mean, even making tea is one form of process,
Okay.
but then there's an actual lab grown process. Okay,
Hmm.
now 90% of our serotonin comes from our gut bacteria. All right, so
Oh.
if you are not happy, they say like shit, diet, let food be thy medicine.
Right.
It's your diet. But if they're spraying our foods with neurotoxins and pesticides, and the food
Mm-hmm.
isn't grown with, innate love, and it's just a fake, material kind of thing, just it's fluff, then we're actually designing our bodies to be in a constant state of stress where we can't access our neurochemicals naturally. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, so the more we step back and we kind of look at, well, how do we make this right? We try to use these broken systems, the criminal justice system, to say, well, guns are the problem, so we're going to make laws against certain people who can't have guns. And who are those certain people? Those certain people in the same criminal justice system who've been identified as stressors on society.
Right.
But we've got it totally backwards. It's not that they're stressors of society. We are symptoms of our environment. So symptoms are just a part of the problem, and you can't medicate symptoms. You have to go to the root. You have to
I really
understand
like how you're
what
talking. You're saying a lot of things I said. Yeah.
you're spot on, man. And how do you become a man? Like, you plant your feet down and you believe, and like belief is so much a part of it. But What if your belief system is broken or slightly misspoken? And so,
Absolutely.
you know, you have to start redesigning and becoming an engineer using science and using what makes you happy, what makes your heart happy. And that's why the music community, that's why the African American community runs shit, because like everything you guys do, you'll have so much energy built up because you've been repressed that you
Mm-hmm.
have to find an avenue for it. And
It's funny you say that, because I was talking about last week we were talking about, you know, like men having self-control, and I said you know, one of the problems with our society is, you know, we manage people's emotions too much. And I think what happens is when you do that, when people get into real serious conflict and you know, confrontation where they need to really police themselves, they're not able to anymore, because it's like you have brakes that are worn off. You've been controlling those emotions too long. Now that they're really intense, you can't control it. And that's why, at least that's the theory I have on why I think some people make really, really poor decisions. You know, like there's people in jail that like literally just had a really bad day and did something drastic. You know, that's the theory I've created. And I kind of feel like you're kind of hinting at that a little bit with what you've been saying.
You're right. Well, so let's go into the realm of confidence. Confidence is key. That's planting your feet down. But if
Yep.
you don't believe in even yourself and your own capability, Jordan Peterson talks about how it's innately natural for us to adapt to that. So instead of trying to fight, if Lobster loses a fight, he innately adapts to flee. And so we're eating food that is innately designed to flee and run instead of food that is loved and loves the human and trusts the human, right? So, I mean, when you look at it, your posture starts going down and you start going down. And what you're actually neurophysically doing is you are actually creating pressure on your nerves and lowering your nervous system's intake, your input. That lowers your cognitive function. You said you like walking when you talk because you are moving and your heart rate is moving and you're neurologically, physiologically active, and you're actually forcing yourself to breathe. You're not in a state of dis-ease. You're in a state of freedom and movement. And that's what we're here to do. But we put kids in a box from the time that they're born, and we don't get to the root of, like, we're social beings. These kids should be laughing and running around and developing their brain first before we throw information at them in a testing format that they can't even process. And so the kids who are creative, who are artistic, who have, you know, high energy, either A, they're being repressed at home, or B, they're being repressed intellectually. And so
Great.
you see these neurophysical problems in certain cultures because they're being repressed on every front that they look, from the medical community. And it's, you know, it's not that the medical community is 100% wrong. They're just not 100% right. And they're not incorporating what makes us human. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, you're saying a lot of things that I talk about in school counseling, you know, as I like look at, you know, what I've seen in schools this year and how students are reacting. So it's actually really making me excited because, you know, I always tell people, that's why I like reading books.
Yeah.
When I'm not sure, that to me says that I was on the right path. So
I missed that. I'm so sorry. Can you say that again?
Oh yeah, no, I was saying that I really you know, I always tell people in reading, whenever I like know something, some kind of concept, but I'm not fully versed on how to explain it, that's why I like books, because, you know, it comes up there and you're kind of bringing up a lot of things that I talk about, problems with traditional school, how we kind of take the creativity out of kids and turn them into drones and test takers. And that's not, and I always tell people, that's not intelligence. That means you're well read. Doesn't mean that you know anything. You know how to read and like regurgitate, but you don't actually have knowledge. You're not thinking, you're remembering. Those are two different things.
You're right. And they're both needed. It's the dualism in our reality. You have to take both sides to be a whole human. You know, we have to be, you know, we have to have our art form, but we also have to have our duty. But if we're living in a country where our duty doesn't even make sense and we're just printing off money, then people lose their value. They become non-essential, and that's how you create disease. And we're going to see a lot more new disease coming up because all of our DNA is different. And so when you put a piece of gene under stress, it adapts because it's trying to figure out, how can I fix this? And instead of us trying to medicate and sedate and just, continue on in a broken system, we have to stop and create intelligent design just as much as the intelligent design created us. And we need to stop working against it and trying to sanitize the world, and then instead go back into nature and be with the world and love the world and like see value in the trees as much as we see value in, the people, because the trees feed the people, and it's a
Oxygen.
relationship.
Absolutely.
You got to breathe in the oxygen just as much as you have to breathe out the carbon dioxide, right?
Right. Now,
So
are you a scientist by your trade? Like, what's your background?
So I grew up being a high level athlete.
Okay.
I realized that, I got in trouble for laughing more than anything in school, and I
Yeah,
kind
me
of
too.
lost my voice because of that. And so I put all of my anger and energy into sports, and I became a phenomenal athlete. But I ended up developing joint problems, and by the time I was a senior, I had thought I had ruined my knees and ankles and hips, and no
What kind of
doctor was
sports did you
able to
play?
help me. But I was still playing through it. I still received a full ride scholarship in soccer. I was kicking field goals
Oh,
on
nice.
kickoffs. I was there. Like, I had intention to be professional, but that wasn't my path, obviously. And so
Right.
I went to school, and I had a child my first year in college. That stress built up,
Gotcha.
and I
That's
actually
real.
had a psychosis in 2012. And it created so much anger inside of me of how I was treated, and how the moment I started feeling better, I was like, hey, can you start reducing my meds? Like, I'm okay now. They doubled them, and they weren't
Oh man.
listening to me. They saw me as a broken problem. So when I got out, I was like, this system is broken. I'm going to go into law. So I ended up going into political science, and my third year in college, on my pursuit of my political science degree, I was visiting law offices and trying to like find my way and meet people, and I just saw how unhappy these people were, and I was like, I can't do that. And I kind of transitioned my last year to focusing on
Mhm.
nonprofits, and so I joined the Nonprofit Leadership Alliance program at Kennesaw State University, and I found a lot of value there. And I don't like throwing out labels, because, like, I don't know, I am a white man, but like being a white man going into the nonprofit world, it's heavily dominated by not my kind of people. A straight white man. I mean, it is what it is.
I
Like,
got you. I
I don't
got you.
hate
We're gonna talk about that
it.
at
I
some
don't
point
hate
too.
it. But I found a lot of disdain in that community, and how it was just silly. And I had a lot to say, so I started making my own media content.
Okay.
And I was working on developing Grow My Community as a nonprofit while in college. So I finished up my bachelor's. I was trying to build out this Grow My Community concept of organizing people and information so we can
Those are big things.
localize our economies. But I just didn't have enough resources to actually do that. My media consultant ended up dropping me like right as everything was getting published and like coming out. And so that, I hit a roadblock, but my partner, Susan Parker,
Mhm.
she was my savior. She was a photographer, and she was kind of starting to put down her photography a little bit, and she wasn't focusing on it. But I was like, hey, I can do video, you can do photography. Let's just own our own company. Screw society. Like, we'll make our own money.
That's the
Um,
way to go, man. That's why
well,
I got
so
another master's, man, to have my own, get licenses, and eventually do my own thing. That's what I told my parents. I'm like, I know you guys don't see it, but it's like the way I see it. When I get licenses in counseling, 5 to 10 years, I can have my own practice. I'd rather do that than work 20 years to retire.
take control of what you can. And that's what I try to
Yeah.
do. I try to get into media, and the deeper I got, the more I was like, well, it's not even like really the quality of my media. It's really like my marketing of my media. And so I got deeper into marketing, and it just got to be so fake and
Mm.
so just like almost like stealing from other people for like silly things, like, how to sell your product. Like, if you don't know how to sell your product, you're not selling a product. You're selling a lie. Like, you
Mm.
should know your product well enough in your heart and in your mind where it just flows through you and people are attracted to your product.
I agree.
That's that God energy. You should believe
Hmm.
in what you're doing. And so I got really broken because I was working with different people, and just one person after another, I just found these toxic relationships that they didn't really care about me as a whole person or my ideas. They just devalued me, and I started devaluing myself once again and repressing who I was. And last year, I found my way. Now, do keep in mind, I had been studying neurochemistry with my father, who had helped me basically neurologically rewire my brain back to full capacity.
Garrett, you're doing a lot of jumping. So you were doing some community work, political, and you're doing political science, but you're also studying
Neurophysiology to some extent, but it was really kind of like entry level. Like, how can I fix myself? And it really kind of
Okay.
came back to diet. But I still wasn't whole. Like that other part of my life was broken, and I was in pain. I have inflammation problems, which is the root of stress,
Yep.
and because stress once again causes the acid buildup. That buildup of acid causes a response, a natural innate response system of inflammation. And inflammation is the first part of your immune system to respond. So it's natural. Like if you're inflamed, you need to figure out what's inflaming you. What is your fire burning, and how do you acknowledge that and actually cook with it instead of try to put it out, as an analogy to use.
I was just about to say that. That's kind of deep because you can use that in so many other places. It's just like with conflict.
Yes, absolutely. The Martin Luther King versus the Black Panther, like there's the dualism of what's most right. It's like they're both right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I actually called up one of my buddies. He was going to Life University. He was in his last couple quarters. And I was like, hey man, I need help. I stopped trying to be my own doctor and being egotistical. And I actually looked for someone that I really trusted, and that I knew that his heart was in the right place. And he said, come over now. And it wasn't like I needed help, like I was going crazy, or I just knew I don't have a
That
job
sixth
right
sense.
now. No
Yeah.
one's hiring me. And my life was in shambles in a lot of ways. And I was very depressed. And, I just knew that I was in pain, and I wanted to finally direct my pain and stop numbing myself. And so, through in one day, right, this chiropractic student, now keep in mind, since I was in 4th grade, I've been going to medical doctors my whole life. And all I got was ibuprofen and psychosomatic
Medications and things.
diagnoses.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is sad, and it's not their fault. It's a systematic problem. I don't hate the doctors. I hate the system. I hate the education system. I hate the American Medical Association system. But it's not even the people there. It's just how our society has adapted. So it's not even a means to be angry anymore. But I digress. So in one day, he was like, oh, you've got a biomechanical issue, man. You've got your knee facing inward. We're going to work on training your knee to move forward. He said, we're going to get you in line. Physically, you're going to get your spine in line, so that way your nervous system can heal itself. And people are afraid of their own bodies. We are 50% viruses. We adapt with them. But the second that we stop walking in soil and constantly exposing ourselves and microdosing on viruses, become fearful. And what is a symptom of fear? Stress and anxiety. And we have to stop and step back and go back to our roots of who we are.
That makes me think though, because that's one of the biggest issues in schools. Kids are having anxiety and depression like I've never seen. I saw for the first time kids in high school having to have teachers come out and parents together pull them out the car as they don't want to go to school. The schools, it's like they're being set on fire. I could not believe it. I mean, I've definitely, looking back at it now, and with more knowledge, of course, I've realized that I've too suffered from, anxiety. Anxiety shows up differently in people,
Right.
For me, anxiety might be me me, I might clam. No, it's okay. Me, I might clam up or might not be able to respond. When I used to play basketball a little bit when I was younger, never on a major level because I never realized what was wrong with me. I could play in the park all day, but as soon as the crowd and the refs and things came, I remember being in a tournament and getting beamed in the face I couldn't catch a basketball because I just froze up. And I never knew what it was. I just thought I was a punk. And then, as I learned about science and the mind, I'm like, no, I had performance anxiety.
Yeah, you were repressed, man. And you became neurologically dysfunctional. and no one was helping you. No one was training you how to stand up tall, as Jordan Peterson says,
Right.
and fix your life that's around you. Fix the chaos and design your life with order, so that way you have that control and you can take control with what's around you instead of trying to just react to everything and externalize your stress and your anger, and really understand what's at the root. You
Right.
know, it's you got to love yourself, man. And there's so many communities that just have lost touch with who they are, and like that's sad, but you
Real,
know,
man.
we are humans. We are one race. We are all brothers and sisters, and like we've designed these frames of thoughts where like I can't call someone black my brother. Like, you're not my brother. It's like, but I am. Like, I understand. I can't fully empathize and sympathize with your community, and I can't make an analogy of the torture that you went through to the
Right.
tortures that my Jewish people went
But
through. Like that's the problem.
I feel like sometimes I feel like we don't need to harp on that. You know what I mean? Like there's so much more to life than that. Like
Right.
I feel like we should both understand that already. And I feel like as long as you have the open mind to acknowledge the difference and not
Yeah.
see it as a deficiency, I don't see why we can't go forward from there.
People are living in the past instead of living in the present for the future. So they're and that's what just makes us different than animals is, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a deer could get scared, react, go back to eating, okay?
Right.
Because he's not obsessing about his past. And humans, we have memory for a reason. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, you know, we all have genius inside of us. But like the more we repress it, the more neurologically deficient we become, the more nerves that we start suppressing, you know, we have to
Yeah.
move. The more movement that you do, the more neuroplastic development that's happening in your brain.
I
You know,
wonder
it's
if
connected.
And I wonder if the technology, the cell phones and everything, kids playing video games and not being outside as much, I wonder if this also kind of goes into what you're saying is like the technology is kind of beating us. Like it's putting our defenses down.
Well, yeah. So I mean, yes, because look at what I'm doing. Look at my posture. I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually compressing nerves down my arms, and I'm losing real environmental input. However, it's not that technology is bad. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're just not using it as a tool anymore. It's become a drug. It's
Yes.
overactivating our
That's what
dopamine
I mean.
receptors, and we found a dependence on it. But that's because like we are infovores. You know, like
Uh-huh.
we need information in order to comprehend. But like at a certain point, it's like, but it's
Too
simple.
much.
It's
Yeah.
love and it's joy and it's duty. It's the pursuit of happiness. It's not, you can't attain pure happiness all the time until you design your life to be fully purpose driven, and you can truly love and understand the emotions that you feel of the anger of what has happened is it becomes excitement for your drive, your internal drive to do more. Because you've got two types of way to motivate yourself. You've got the motivation that comes from excitement and the
Mm-hmm.
motivation that comes from fear. And those are two very different nervous system reactions.
It's like
And
internal and external. Yeah.
you got it. You got it. It's dualism. It's philosophy. It's art. It's science. It's that, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what chiropractic is. And so I entered this chiropractic community kind of afraid because of the name calling, and it's like, no, these guys are like geniuses. These guys really freaking get it. Why aren't we listening? Why is it? And right now in 2020, like we've
Mm-hmm.
got vision, like we've got communication, we have networks, like we have these things that we can now start utilizing. And these scientists are now incorporating, you know, accountants who read graphs and really understand the multivariants involved. And then we can incorporate chiropractic to understand the neurophysical relationship. Because if you're compressing a nerve, there's organ function from nerve compression as well. And
Mm.
when you find the pharmaceutical realm of like repression, coffee, stimulants, you're actually shrinking the discs, because the discs that hold the vertebrae up, they
Okay.
need water. They can get dehydrated. So whenever they get dehydrated, they shrink, right?
Mm. Okay.
So that causes the nerve suppression, thereby causes neurological dysfunction. Does that make sense?
It does. It does actually.
Awesome. Awesome. So, I think we just need to stop and like we have time to think now. And so it's time for people to like start focusing on what makes them human. I bought a pottery wheel because I love doing pottery in high school. And I was like, that's
I
going to
always
be
seen
my
that in
new
the movie
meditation.
Ghost.
Do what?
I said I seen that in the movie Ghost. That's all I always think about, the pottery wheel.
It's fun, man. It's the Tao. It's like, it's a part of who we are.
Mhm.
We are supposed to form our world. We work with clay. You work with art, with mistakes, like, and you adapt. And like, that's a part of DNA. That's a part of just living is actually experiencing and understanding and then coming to a conclusion. People who are constant complainers see a lot wrong because they're awoke and
Mm.
like they're seeing it. And so they're looking for answers and they're telling everyone, trying to find a direction of like, who can fix this problem? Who can fix this problem? It's like, we need everyone at the table to have these conversations.
Yeah, the problem is there's so many still that just don't want to participate in dialogue, and the media is doing a great job of helping just fan this fire too.
Yeah. Well, I
I don't
mean,
even cut the news on anymore.
you can't. Well, it's good to be like kind of aware, because like as a
Mhm.
human, you need to know somewhat of your environment so you can run if you need to,
Oh yeah,
or
yeah, of
fight if
course.
you need to, or whatever. But like, it's not. It's a symptom, Like the media is a symptom. Like when you look at art, reflects society, and the
Hmm.
more that we got away from functional art, the more that we just became purely aesthetic and purely reflecting society, and then our art became toxic. And so now we don't even have medicine in our art. It's brainwashing from ground up. It's like we're chasing the money in our art instead of like chasing the function of
That's
why we
interesting.
started doing the art in the first place.
That's like you're almost saying pretty much in a different way a lot of the complaints I make about rap music, because I consider myself a rap music enthusiast. Like I like to study it,
Yeah,
where it came, and that's one of my biggest complaints today is I'm like, it's become too much of a cash grab, and the art isn't there anymore. You're just cursing, you're just saying things, but there's no basis. I really can't even defend it anymore. It doesn't make sense. At least back then they were saying something. It was a frustration. I don't even know why you're
yeah.
frustrated. You're at a party. You got cars, you got everything.
Well,
So
people are still repressed, man, and like we're
yeah,
still focusing on the past, and like it's just a symptom, it's not even. That's like the new Will Smith song that came out. Like that's that shit. Like he did it without even having to cuss, Like you don't need that, but so many
I got to
like
check that out
it's
too.
what's selling. It's what's most efficient, and so we've taken the efficient route in life. That's become the hypothesis of the purpose of energy instead of like comprehension and
Right.
like love,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
Love is the
so
answer.
it's these conversations that will change the world, and it doesn't matter if anyone else sees them beyond you because you're going to be able to bring in essential oils and bring in breathing techniques into your office and change kids' lives and inspire them to love again because so many kids are not loved and they grow up with cancer and it's really sad, man.
No. I mean, trust me, I see it every day.
Right.
I feel like I tell people sometimes I think I have a sixth sense. Like there's times where I'll see kids talking and I'm like, what you're telling me isn't the whole story. I know it's not. And I'm just having that willingness to push them a little further, man, to let them know that I'm here. I understand. I've been there. You're not alone.
But when you don't even trust your big brother, and this is biblical. When you don't trust your big brother, then
Hmm.
you become fearful, and that fear takes grip and becomes reality. And that's where we've got to stop. We've got to stop and
I lost you. I lost you. You went.
sorry about that.
Okay.
You there?
Hmm.
Um, you have to breathe and assess your situation and incorporate what makes us human. Go out and garden and get your hands dirty. And garden therapy is such a real thing because it's what makes us human, gives us purpose.
Yeah, I can't
And
wait to get
and
out so I can garden again.
and do it, bro. You know, let that plant grow. Like let that. And if you can't even take care of a plant, how are you gonna take care of yourself?
That's a good point. That's a really great point.
You know what I'm saying? So like we gotta be human again. My dad, that was my dad that just called. He's actually watching my son right now, so I can kind of have this conversation.
Dope,
Um,
dope.
but yeah, do you have any questions for me, my friend, my brother?
So I kind of wanted just to get you kind of, I mean, first of all, you hit on some amazing points, and thank you for that. Talking about, stress and just your awareness of stress, how it affects other people. I want to acknowledge you for that. Thank you. I feel like a lot of times people don't see it. In fact, I'm gonna send an email to meet with the dean of my school to talk to him about what my experience has been as a grad student, because it is really stressful, and I mean it was stressful before the Rona came, and I think it's important that he kind of knows how this affects someone's academic ability and how they approach their work. But
Yeah, good.
I know we were going to talk about the NPR thing too. You said that it made you feel upset a little bit.
What made me feel upset? Sorry.
Remember the NPR article, the NPR video we listened to about how the sociologists talking about how black men have fear just on how they present themselves to be non-threatening. And I remember you said you saw that and you had an emotional response. You felt bad.
Yeah, because the problem with modern science is it's just diagnosing symptoms.
You're breaking up again.
Sorry, my dad again. And so we'll have to speed this up. But it's sad that they're not acknowledging that we've repressed a whole group of people instead of just loving them and giving them room to grow, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think that kind of goes back to that experience, that the anxiety about, coming out in public, having the how you dress and how you appear. That stress, because I feel like as a black man, when you get educated, to certain degrees, you start to have those conflicts in your mind of how you show up in society. Doesn't matter.
You're right, man.
But it shouldn't matter.
It becomes that stressor, and it's not the color, man. It's just a symptom of our society, and we're focusing on history without understanding it. We're trying to just throw data and laws on top of themselves instead of just stopping and reassessing, what are we doing here? We didn't win a war on slavery. We won a war on outsourcing slavery to other countries and imperialism, and that's wrong. And no one's acknowledging that. No one is assessing hey, sweatshops are bad. No, we're taking the route most easy instead of taking the route that might be a little bit more creative, a little bit more real. And so really kind of our conversation really dove into what made me emotionally respond to that, because people who laugh aren't crazy, man. They just get it.
I agree. I know. No, I totally agree. I feel like James Baldwin once made the statement that to be conscious and American is to be angry all the time. Hold on, I gotta get that one right. Walking and thinking.
No, you don't. You got to the. Don't worry about trying to be perfect.
But I want to leave you with that one. That's a good one.
It's an ancient secret. They actually designed their art with a slight mistake. That's what this right here was. This is my first one I made in a while, and it had a little mistake on it, so I worked with it, and that's a part of adaptation. That's it's philosophy in a lot of ways.
Okay.
And, so don't try to be perfect. Just kind of get to the root of what you're trying to say. You can reference. They say something along the lines. It's paraphrasing.
Here it is, though. It's to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious. It's to be enraged almost all the time.
Yes. And what's that fire? What is that stress? It's a cancer, man. The Egyptians had cancer back then, and it wasn't just the neurochemicals. They were slaves. And slavery is the devaluing of the human spirit, devaluing the community, and devaluing what we're here to do. We're here to grow. We're here to share and love and laugh and create and play. And that's what kids should be doing.
Absolutely.
We
can learn so much from kids.
Isn't developed yet.
And they're so willing to do anything. And I feel like it's funny. They're not developed, but it's like kids actually get it, though. You can learn so much from children. I feel like usually kids are kind of taught out of it. You know what I mean? They get it from a natural birth. You can put kids together. They don't care about your sexuality. They don't care about your race. They don't care about your gender. They don't care about none of that. They just want to play. It's not until we go into these systems that they start to learn that's not cool. Don't do that.
You're
Like we're
right.
messing them up.
Well, you know, like I said, it's all a symptom, and you can't cure a symptom unless you get to the root. And people like you that are in the system, y'all are the ones that can make a change. And you know, if you go through my Facebook recently, I kind of like I hated on teachers a little bit because it's like y'all need to stand up for the kids. Like, I know you love the kids, but like the kids are being drugged up and taken advantage of, and y'all are just sitting there diagnosing them as ADD because you're told that's what a problem in school is, and it's like so they're told the
Oh, I
vernacular
hate that, man. I
dialogue
hate that.
to give to the counselors so they can drug them up and dose them up and repress who they are and like be yourself, be that high frequency
And the
that
new one they have is this,
laughs, be the
yeah, that
Buddha,
opposition defiant disorders and stuff. I can't, yeah.
laugh therapy.
That's why I went to school counseling to be, to kind of be that ally for the students in the school, because that's what the
Good.
school counselor's first ally is, the student first, and then be there to provoke those conversations.
You can't hate the player, hate the game, man.
Yeah. I used to because I used to be in the military, and I used to always when people ask me things about like my political views, I always say it. I love my soldiers. The Army as a unit is great. I don't like how they're manipulated, but I don't think the Army is a bad thing. I love the soldiers. The soldiers are great people. They're just trying to
They're in a
make
broken
trying to
system.
make ends meet. Broken system, indeed.
Well,
This whole thing is
they
broken.
don't have proper duty. Their duty is just a training ground for another fake war for resources. Instead of us like developing countries and like working with them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not trying to sanitize and mechanize their life, but like help them understand the value of the ground that they're sitting on instead of trying to enslave them and own them. And that's some like Howard Zinn philosophy. And like, you know, you can trek through different philosophers and really extrapolate like the why. It's like the why's gravity work, you know? It's like, who cares why? It works, you know? Like your spine is stacked on top of itself. If I had a set of keys, I'd do it. But, you know, here's the mic, you know? Look, if something ain't right, it's not going to function. You drop a mic
Correct.
because it's a value of like, I've said what I need to say. The concert is over. I broke my instruments and like, that's rock and roll, man. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's hip hop sometimes too. Absolutely. So
So,
I know another thing
but
we
I do
talked a
need to
little
go
bit
get my
about.
son. Hey, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Go ahead. Well,
No, I said I know we wanted to talk. Well, maybe not now, but in the future, something about nonprofits. You were
yeah.
saying.
So I mean, you know, nonprofits, real quick, they're basically the same thing as a business.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through the Secretary of State. The process of setting up a nonprofit is a dumbed down business model, whereby you have your service, which you have to write out, and then you have to have the income for that service. And if it's free and like you're providing a free service, like that's fine. You have to have a location, you know, just like a business. You can't have a PO box, and you file your legitimation papers, the name, just like you do with a child. You know, you own that company or that nonprofit.
Mm.
In order to do that, you have to find a board of directors. You want those to be intellectual people, but I mean, if you want to find Joe Schmo on the street, whatever. And then you design your bylaws, which includes like you have to have at least one meeting a year to assess the nonprofit. And that's basically how you set up a nonprofit from ground up. Once you get your name legitimated, then you file through the state. You file your 501c3 or C. There's like 23 different types of nonprofits. So I mean, like the police department is really a nonprofit. The education system is really a nonprofit. So like we can use the system to design a better world. We don't have to break everything down, but we just need
I
more
agree.
intelligent systems to work with the government that we were given. And that's where the difference of like revolution from an externalized point of view in a Muslim mind frame compared revolution in the mind in the other point of the Muslim community's mind frame. So like,
And another thing I
we can
always say is that
we can breed inspiration into other people.
and we have a lot of systems here. A lot of times they're just not properly utilized. That's why they don't work.
Well, is marketing. It's a joke.
Yeah.
We don't need anyone to advocate for cancer. We all know about cancer. We've known about cancer since 2000, 7000 BC. It's stress. It's easy. Stop advocating for it.
Hmm.
You know,
So is it as simple
really
as
stop
don't stress, you won't get
Facebook.
cancer?
Do what?
Is it as simple as if you don't stress, you drastically reduce your way of getting cancer?
Yes. Well, that goes into the 3 T's: toxins, thoughts, and trauma. You have
I'm
to
glad we
find your
caught that.
trauma, get to the root of that, find
Hmm.
the toxins in your life, and then that will help you have clarity with your thought.
Hmm.
So once you think clearly and your spine is aligned and you don't have nervous system dysfunction and you can plant your feet down, you can stand up tall, and your life becomes orderly and makes sense, and you have proper duty in your personal life and in your family life and in your community, no, I don't believe you will get cancer. And that is a
Sounds
belief.
like my counseling philosophy: thoughts, feelings, actions.
You got it, man. It's the
Yeah,
trifecta, bro. It's biblical. It's like we
absolutely.
know all this stuff, man.
Just got to put it into practice.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Walk
man.
with light and you will shine through others, man. I really appreciate your time, Justin.
Garrett, I appreciate yours, man. Thank you, man. Especially, scheduling so quick last minute like that and, missing you yesterday. I really apologize, but this is a great way to start my morning, man. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, hey, don't forget to breathe, man. It's important. Breathing exercises really change your physiology and change your ability to process information. And love yourself, dude. Be proud of yourself.
Thank you. Absolutely. You too now.
Yeah, I do now. I found the
Well,
comedy.
Garrett, I love comedy, and that's why I love to laugh. I feel like nothing's ever that serious if you really look at
That's therapy.
it. well, well, Garrett, this has been really dope. I don't want to keep you too much longer, man. I want to make sure you go and have some fun with your son today and getting his sun. I'm gonna go out here and do some things too. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna have this uploaded by the end of the day today because this is some really good information we got this last hour, man.
Share the love, brother. And
Absolutely,
thank
man.
you for your time. Keep doing and work from the inside, man. Coalition building. Find friends who get it and be you can't force. Force only
Right.
goes so far. Gravity can only pull so hard, but you can inspire through action. You can lead. You can be a leader through action. And positive psychology, Megan Toops said, you lead by example. LBE. That's how you parent. That's how you become an entity that people aspire to be like. You be like Jesus. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm-hmm.
live your life as a leader because you believe in what you're doing and you believe in yourself and you live with joy and love. It's simple, man. It's simple.
It really is.
You see it.
Absolutely, Garrett.
Hey,
I
keep
will, I
that
will
vision
not be a
strong,
stranger either,
bud.
man. We'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah, we will. We will. I
Definitely.
just uploaded a new podcast today. I did a free thought, and it might be my last one on GMC Talks. But check it out, GMC Talks on Spotify. It's on most platforms. And I released my meditation episode I recorded a while back last night. So,
Okay.
I
I've been trying to
encourage
get into
everyone to
meditation too,
design
so
their
I'll
own.
definitely listen.
Hey, design your own meditation. Get your kids to talk to themselves because self-talk is very important to get to the root of the problems. And they may not be able to talk to you, but you can give them their own,
Mm-hmm.
$5-10 voice recorder for them to talk to themselves and listen to their thoughts. And that way they could hear it from a different nervous system response system so they can have a higher level of comprehension of what is toxic, what are their thoughts, and what is their trauma.
That's deep, man.
Yeah, man. Change the world, bro. One person at a time. I appreciate you
Trying,
doing.
man. Trying.
It's not grandiose, man.
I'm
It's
trying,
simple.
brother.
It's like one kid at a time. It may not be you, but it might be the kid you teach.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Or just plant the seed, you know what I mean? Who knows how long it takes to grow, but the seed's planted.
You got it, man. Love you, dude.
All right, God, I'm gonna let you go now, man. Love you too, brother. Thank you so much for this, man. This was dope.
Hell yeah.
All right,
Keep
guys, it's
going,
been
man.
Justin Spire. We out.